Blog Talk Radio.
This episode of Video Marketing Madness is made possible by freevideoeditor.co. The easy and free way to get a high-end video editor so you can do all sorts of fun video editing, including things like green screen and three-point editing. All that other fun stuff that you want to do with your videos, you can do it with freevideoeditor.co. And on today's show, we're going to talk about some advanced editing techniques and how you can do them with whatever editor you currently have.
Yeah, that sounds like it's going to be fun.
He's Ray the video guy, yeah, Ray the video guy. His skill is where it's at, even if he's a little fat. He's filled with video expertise and has so much knowledge that you need. His YouTube ninja tricks can make your marketing so sick. He's Ray the video guy, yeah, Ray the video guy.
It's the radio show about Video Marketing Madness with Ray the Video Guy, and I'm Steve Sleeper. Got a question for Ray? Go to raythevideoguy.com/ask, A-S-K. Leave your question. If Ray answers it, you'll win all kinds of great video marketing stuff. And we got a question coming up at the end of the show, as always. Facebook page is Video Marketing Madness. Twitter, we're Video MKT Madness. We're live Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern. You can join the conversation at 818-369-1423. And, you know, I had a little Post-it note here for those that are watching the Hangout. There's the Post-it note. And it says, Advanced Editing Techniques Made Easy.
There you go.
I have the Post-it note. Yeah. So, yeah, that sounds like a fun show for today. So how you been?
I'm doing well. It's, we're starting to roll into the new year here. It's exciting, and hopefully we can do a lot of fun stuff this year. We got a lot of cool things coming up.
Yeah, well, great. Yeah, that is the beginning of the year. Beautiful weather in Omaha. It's like 40 degrees today. And then it's going to be like 2 above tomorrow or something, but I don't know.
Nice. Well, there you go. That's what we like to hear.
You don't have to suffer through that in Lake Elsinore.
You'd be surprised. We were in the 30s this morning, so.
You know, I used to come to Southern California quite a bit, and because I had a book of business in San Diego and Los Angeles, and a buddy of mine lived in Thousand Oaks. Mm-hmm. And they spend a lot of time outside, you know, even in the winter.
Right.
And I remember thinking, being there in the winter, geez, I'm colder here than I am back in Nebraska. What's up with that?
Well, you know, it's kind of strange, but I do have to say, you know, it was, I believe it was like 35 this morning at 5 a.m. when I was out and about, but I was still wearing shorts and a T-shirt, so I guess I don't complain too much about it.
Yeah, it was about like that here the other day, although it was middle of the afternoon, and I always wear shorts, cargo shorts, you know, and I'm styling. Now, I was wearing a sweatshirt, but the neighbor was yelling at me. I ignored her. You know, she's like, "You're wearing shorts." Well, thank you, Captain Obvious. I just waved at her like,
oh my gosh, I didn't notice.
Yeah, I just waved at her like, you know, I was deaf, which I am. So
there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's fun stuff, and you know, I've enjoyed the weather. I'm not in 3 feet of snow this year, and it's not -10, so I'm pretty happy.
Yeah.
Pretty excited.
You got that in Utah, didn't you? You got that in Salt Lake.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Well, we weren't in Salt Lake. We were up in the frozen mountains, so we got a lot of snow up there.
So
got a lot of snow.
That's a different topography than Salt Lake, because Salt Lake's a valley, right?
Salt Lake is a valley, and we lived in a valley, but even the valley was way up in the mountains, so it was.
But it was in the mountains, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So the Wasatch are just video marketing geography. The Wasatch is just east of Salt Lake, right? Just like due east, right?
Yeah, kind of like north and east, and it kind of surrounds it a little bit.
Okay.
But, yeah. And then mountains.
And you lived in the Wasatch, in Morgan, Utah.
Technically, yeah, kind of.
Okay. Okay. Good enough for now.
Don't worry, we can edit this later, as they say. And that's
exactly.
Transition to what we're talking about today there, folks.
That's right.
In radio, that's what we call a segue. Thank you very much.
A segue. Yeah.
Later on, we'll hit the post. Not really. But anyway, so we're going to talk today about video editing and how you can do some advanced video editing techniques with whatever platform you happen to be working on. Now, Steve, you use Sony Vegas, correct?
I do.
Excellent. I actually use a handful of different tools. I use Final Cut Pro is the one that I've been using for, seems like 2 decades now, probably. But on top of that, we also use ScreenFlow, which is a screen capture tool similar to Camtasia, but it's also a video editor. And actually, it's a very good video editor for anybody looking to get one tool that kind of does both. That's a great tool for both editing and for doing your screen capture. And then we also use our free video editor that we talked about at the top of the show called Shotcut. And Shotcut is actually a surprisingly powerful video editing tool that's completely free, and you can do some really cool stuff inside of there as well. So we'll kind of talk a little bit about that one, just because it's one that you can go and grab right now, and you can do some of these advanced editing techniques within that, and it costs you nothing. So that's
now. What did you say the name of it is?
It's called Shotcut. In fact, I was talking. Well, I wasn't talking to. I was messaging the actual guy the coder of Shotcut earlier today. I'm trying to get him to come on the radio show because I think that would be a great interview. So we'll see if we can get him to come and talk to us. And come to find out, he actually doesn't live too far from here. So.
Oh, cool. Now, is that at the URL you gave at the beginning of the show? Yes, that's at freevideoeditor.co. Okay. So anybody is looking to do more advanced editing. This, a lot of the stuff we're going to talk about right now is probably not going to apply if you're using Windows Movie Maker. Some things may not. But, if you're doing video editing and you're on Windows Movie Maker, you really need to look at something a little more advanced there. That is, that's the Crayola crayon of video editing. It's not a very powerful tool. In fact, I would say Crayola crayons are a more powerful artistic tool than Windows Movie Maker is for video. So I would definitely start to look at something. And the free video editor is a great way to go. Costs you nothing. There is much more of a learning curve. Well, I shouldn't say that because Windows Movie Maker is not the easiest program in the world to use. But Shotcut is a pretty serious video editing program, so there is a lot to it. So you definitely want to, get in there and kind of learn some of the techniques. It's not difficult once you understand it, but it is definitely a pro-level style video editor. So it's not as, it's not as, I don't want to say childish, but a lot of the easier video editing programs are literally childish in that they're meant so that a child could pick it up and use it fairly quickly. I would put iMovie kind of in that category as well. Maybe not so much as it used to be. It's actually a little more advanced than it used to be, but I would still kind of put that in that category as well. And there are many others out there that fall into that category. But what we want to do is we want to start taking our videos to the next level. And what I mean by that is so many people will create videos, and the way they create videos is either very simple slideshows or stuff they shot handheld on their iPhones and then just uploaded to the internet without really doing anything to them. But there are some really neat techniques that you can use that are very easy to do that are really going to take your videos, whether they're meant to be commercial or they're just meant to be fun. You can take them from, very basic and convert them into something that is going to really have a bit of a professional class to them. And there's a few different techniques that we can go through on that. The first one and the easiest one is music. If you've got a video and you put music in the background, you're already a step ahead of almost everybody else out there. I know it sounds silly, and many of the programs that you get may even have music built into them. So, for instance, if you're using something like an Explaindio or a Video Maker FX, they actually have the ability to automatically bring music in, put it under your video. You've got this nice slideshow. It's now got
music underneath it. But if you're shooting your own stuff, let's say you're shooting your client fixing a sink. He's a plumber. He's fixing a sink. You just wanted to get some shots of him, put them together into a montage. Well, you can go out and you can get some music. You can put that music under that video and just add some really nice professional feel to it by simply adding music underneath that video. Now, if he's talking in the video, of course, you want to make sure that music is low so that it's not, overtaking what he's saying. And you can move that volume up and down. So when it's just pictures of him fixing a sink, the music's a little higher, then it comes down underneath him when he's talking and then back up. And you can definitely do that. That's called ducking, for those of you that want a technical term, ducking. You're ducking the audio under him when he speaks. And some of the tools actually have that feature built in. For instance, ScreenFlow actually has a ducking tool. And when you put together a video, it will actually play the music, and when it knows that somebody is talking in the video, it'll bring that music down for you automatically so that it's not overpowering them. So that's so that's a professional level tip you can have there is add music to your video, but make sure that you duck that audio underneath the person that is speaking if they happen to be speaking. And that'll make a big difference to your videos there alone. All right, so that's step number 1. So using music. Step number 2 is graphics. Now, for those of you who are using Windows Movie Maker, please move on from it. This is it's impossible. Some of the things we're going to talk about now are actually impossible in Windows Movie Maker. And funny story, Steve, when I first created YouTube Interactive, part of the training was about adding graphical buttons to your videos. The problem that we ran into is I had no idea that Windows Movie Maker didn't allow you to put graphics over your videos. Now, you can bring graphics into Windows Movie Maker, but you can't put, a button just in the corner of Windows Movie Maker. You can't superimpose a graphic onto Windows Movie Maker. It's either a full graphic or it's video. And so that caused a bit of a problem because a lot of people do use that. It's free. It comes with, the majority of computers. But if you move on beyond that, you can do some really fun stuff, and it's not very difficult. And of course, the reason it's not very difficult is because there's so many tools out there with pre-existing graphics. Many of the video editors already have pre-existing graphics. You can purchase pre-existing graphics from places like VideoHive or Graphic River, and that's VideoHive.net or GraphicRiver.net, part of the same family of websites. So you can actually get different graphics. If you're good with Photoshop, you can create graphics. All you want to do is when you create a graphic is save it out as a PNG, and that's going to give you that transparency so that if your button is, just a small button that's going to go at the bottom of the screen, it's not going to block, the entire screen. So you want to make sure that you save it as a PNG, and that will allow you to have that transparency. Now, we actually have, I'm actually working on right now a project that contains a ton of animated buttons that you can add to your videos. I'm calling it YouTube Interactive Elements. And it's going to have animated buttons and lower thirds and all that kind of fun stuff. But there's plenty of other people that create that. In fact, one thing I should mention, and this is the perfect day to mention this because I literally just found out about this morning. If you remember from back in October, I believe, we had our buddy Nick Nimmin on who was talking about his YouTube channel, and we talked about how he creates graphics for videos. Well, he just opened up a new store that sells these graphics. And so you can actually go in there and you can buy lower thirds. You can buy end screens. You can buy all that fun stuff that you need to make your websites, to make your videos look a lot better. And I'll give you the link to that. I'm actually trying to look it up now since I hadn't planned on mentioning this, and it just kind of popped into my head. This is literally brand new. In fact, he told me this morning I'm like the first person to be told about this, or one of the very first people to be told about it. But it is a live store, and you can actually go to it. It's called Tuber, Tuber, tools.com. And if you go to tubertools.com/go/ Ray the Video Guy, you'll get some special deals there. And, he's got a lot of different things in there. He's got thumbnails as well. He's got buttons. He's got motion backgrounds and all that kind of stuff that can really make a big difference to your videos. But if you can add those graphics, lower thirds with somebody's name, most of the video editors have these things built in. For instance, Final Cut Pro has just an absolute ton of ready-to-go, pre-made lower third graphics that you can put in there and, put their name on there just like on the news. But if you don't have that, you can go to VideoHive.net. And on VideoHive, they've actually got pre-made lower thirds, very, very high quality. They look, they look like basically they are the same type of graphics they would put on the news. And in fact, many news organizations use VideoHive to purchase those types of things to build their graphics packages. But so you can add those lower thirds, which is great for identifying people. They can be animated. Just a very easy way to add some professionalism. Another way to do it is to add an animated logo. Now, I believe we talked a little bit about this recently when we talked about how people can steal your videos if you're not branding them properly. And one thing you can do is you can create an animated logo. And the animated logo is something that, for instance, a good example of it would be when you go to the movies and 20th Century Fox pops up and you see the big 20th Century Fox and the spotlights, and up on the pedestal, or the Paramount Pictures that shows the mountain and the stars fly in and it says Paramount. Those are what we're talking about by animated logos. And you can actually create those yourself using something like PowerPoint, which we talked about. You could also get them from a site like mine, which is animateyourlogo.com. We actually build those for you. And you can use a tool that was created by a friend of ours, Joey Zotto, called Videos, VIDDYOZE. And that platform actually is really incredible. You can just upload your logo, pick what you want, the logo animation to look like, and a few seconds later, you've got a finished piece of video that you can add to your project, and now you've got a branded video with a nice animated logo. Okay, so to recap a little bit on that, music, adding music to your videos, that adds a layer of professionalism. Adding graphics such as lower thirds or your logo to the corner, things like that are going to make a big difference to your video. And of course, adding your animated logos at the beginnings of your videos can definitely help add some of that professionalism to the videos themselves. Okay, so the question is, once you have some of these things, because obviously if you're going to purchase a lower third from a place like VideoHive, it's not already going to say your client's name on it. It's going to be blank. So how do we take this animated graphic and add titles to that? Well, fortunately, most video editing programs have that built in. For instance, if you're using Adobe Premiere, there's a title tool. You hit New Title, you bring it up, it'll show you your video, you put the text where you want it to be, and now you've got a nice animated logo or animated lower third with their name on it. If you're using Final Cut Pro, there's a whole bunch of tools that are in there for that. You just pick the one that you like, drag it in, drop it on top of your lower third, and you've got a really cool little nameplate. If you're using something like Shotcut, again, they've actually got a really nice 3D text tool that allows you to not only put text on something like that, but actually allows you to put very 3D looking text on there as well with bevels and whatnot. So you can do some very cool stuff. And of course, all the other programs, ScreenFlow, Camtasia, they all have text tools as well. Use these. These can make a big difference not only in making your videos look more professional, but also can help you to brand that video so it doesn't get stolen, and it helps people to understand who they're seeing on the screen or what they're seeing. Okay? So the next thing is B-roll. B-roll. And what we mean by that, and I get this question all the time because people talk about this in the groups. They say B-roll, and then everyone goes, well, what's B-roll? What does that mean? Where does that come from? Well, let me tell you exactly what that is, because this is one of those bits of trivia that you'll have for the rest of your life now. Back in the old days when people used to literally cut film,
Yeah.
Okay, so you'd literally be snipping film and using a piece of tape to put the film back together. They used to have, for editing purposes, they had 2 rolls of shot footage. The A roll, which might be the person talking, so the interview, if they're doing an interview, the A roll would be the person in the interview. The B roll, literally roll of film, would be shots of the product they're talking about, shots of the location they're at, things like that. And you would literally cut and paste or cut and tape bits of the B roll into there so that you now had a nice package where the person talks about plumbing, and then we see shots of him doing plumbing. So that's what B-roll means. B-roll means other shots that support what's going on the main part of the video. So in an interview, it's the cutaways. Yeah. And we want to use these as much as we possibly can. Now, fortunately, with this, just about any video editor can do this. The one thing it requires, of course, is that when you're shooting things like an interview, you're going to need to shoot some B-roll at the same time. So if you go to John's Plumbing and you shoot an interview of him, you're going to want to then take him and get shots of him fixing a sink, fixing a toilet. It can also be still images. So if he's got a whole bunch of still images of work that he's done, you can use that as quote-unquote B-roll, as cutaways to what he's talking about. So anything like that, you can add in there. Now, one thing you can also do is you can buy stock footage for this. A great place to buy stock footage, VideoHive once again. You can go to iStock. Just be prepared to have a good budget if you go to a place like iStock, because each clip is probably going to cost you $50 or $60. Yeah. Versus VideoHive, you can get away with clips. They'll have them for $8 to $14 usually, somewhere in that neighborhood, which is very reasonable. So you definitely want to start there. And then the other thing is, there are a lot of collections out there. We talk about collections of videos of stock footage all the time, stock video monster and products like that. And typically those are collections people have made. Most of the time those collections are mountains and water and fields and houses, and sometimes you get stuff with people in them, but oftentimes the collections tend to be more generic. And Steve, I don't know if you know this or not, our old buddy Owen and I are actually starting a project right now where we're going to be shooting B-roll footage of all these types of things, because there is a huge hole in the market. I know, because we're making instant spokesperson videos all the time. Very difficult to find footage of electricians and plumbers. And then if you get into more smaller niches, I mean, forget it. It's very, very hard to find. So we're actually going to be going out, getting an actor to be a plumber and have him do plumbing, and have him do HVAC, and then have him be an electrician, and have him be a roofer, and have him, so that, when people need these types of things, they can get them. Because if you go to VideoHive right now, a lot of times that's not the type of stuff they have in there. So if you type in plumber, you might get some plumbing footage, because plumbing is very popular. But if you start putting in electrician, it gets a little tougher. You start putting in even smaller niches, very, very difficult to find that stock footage even. Even when you're willing to pay, it's tough to find. So we're going to be putting together those types of things. And we're going to be doing things like close-ups of people typing on keyboards and phones and things like that. So we're going to try and change the industry as far as that goes. But in the meantime, if you can do it while you're there, shoot the client doing the actual work so that you have that B-roll. That is a very big thing you can do to improve your videos, especially if they're interviews. Nobody wants to stare at the same guy for 20 minutes.
Did you, in your day, have flatbed editors, film flatbed editors that would do the B-rolling?
No. I mean, all of this stuff is before my day.
Oh, well, it wasn't before mine, so that's why I was kind of laughing, because the closest I've come to that was video tape editing. So literally VHS tapes doing, and we actually had B-roll VCRs or VTRs, we would call them. Okay.
So we would have a main VTR and then multiple B-roll ones, and they'd splice them together, and it was terrible because you lost so much quality at that point. But
yeah. Well, back in when I was in college,
back in
my day, I walked 3 miles to school naked. Yeah. Okay. I don't want to go there. But when, in freshman, sophomore year, video production 101, and it was on flatbed film editors. And that was a real neat deal because you could do the final and not have to splice it. You had your A roll and B roll, and they ran together and they synced together. And I was a radio guy, so I just kind of looked at that and went, wow. But I always I remember what a B roll was.
But I will say this: I used to work in the movie industry, and so I did have to splice film. So that is something that I have done, and I spliced audio tape too.
Yeah, and for our student productions, lots of times we were just splicing stuff together on 16 millimeter using a Bolex.
Oh, sure.
Yep. I enjoyed it. I wasn't any good at it, and I'm still not any good at it. But I enjoyed it, and I know what it is, and I understand it to a point.
The fortunate thing is, with the advent of all this nonlinear editing, it's really changed the world. What we see today could not even be done. No. I would say 15 years ago it couldn't be done, but 20 years ago certainly. Well, and that's not quite true. My first nonlinear video editing tool was probably back 20 years ago. So but it's come a long way. I mean, the fact that anybody can do this now, it's just mind blowing. In fact, when you're making videos, guys, this is something to think about because I used to work in the actual video industry, like working for production houses and things like that back in the days. And it used to cost, and in fact, a lot of places went out of business just because they didn't adapt to this. If you think about making even just a little commercial for a small plumbing company, that would cost $50,000, $100,000. I mean, it was ridiculous. Because you had to use giant cameras, you had to have editors, you had to have tons of lighting. And now, and the editing process was it was so labor intensive. It required multiple people and, all these different things. When it switched to being able to use computers, digitizing footage and putting it together, and all of a sudden, some kid fresh out of college could grab a nice digital camera, a nice digital video camera at the time, go out, shoot a plumbing video, put it together in a nonlinear editor, and turn around and sell that to a client for $1,000, $2,000, or even $500. These big companies were in deep, deep trouble because they were used to charging $50,000, and now some kids coming along and charging $1,000.
Yeah.
So and I saw many of those places go out of business because they couldn't adjust to that. They didn't want to adjust to it, and they couldn't. But, and the fact that nowadays the plumber can just do it himself, I mean, that just takes it to a whole new level. And, we see this all the time. I talk to people all the time, and they'll be like, oh, I'll take my iPhone and I'll shoot some footage while I'm working and send it to you. I mean, it's an incredible thing. It's an incredible thing. But when it comes to the editing, that's where the advantages have really taken off, because the fact that you can do all this professional level editing for next to nothing is amazing. In fact, one other professional thing I want to talk about when it comes to editing, and this is something that some of the other tools have this to an extent, but for in my opinion, Final Cut Pro has this just beyond anything else out there, is this ability to do extremely high-end graphical animated type things right inside the editor. Now, this isn't necessarily built in. You have to buy third-party filters and things like that people have created. But we can do amazing things with simple plugins that you can do. You can also do a lot of them in After Effects, but you're going to do a lot more work in After Effects. And then you have to bring it into an editor and still edit it. But for those of you on a Mac, seriously think about looking into Final Cut Pro. It's not difficult to use. If you've used iMovie, it's really, you'll take to it very easily. But if you can buy some of those plugins and things like that, the amount of graphics and animation you could do in a simple video will just blow your mind. Things like effect. We did some videos recently with the Star Wars hologram effect. Where it looks like you're a hologram. I mean, it's amazing some of the things you can do, and it's very inexpensive to do that. But of course, not every platform is going to have that. You're not going to get that in Camtasia or ScreenFlow or even in Adobe Premiere. You're not going to get a lot of that kind of stuff. So, it is a little bit unique in that regard. And of course, for those of you that are into After Effects, you can certainly do the same types of things and sometimes even better. But it is a little more work. So, all right. So now we've talked a little bit about the music. We've talked a little bit about the graphics. We've talked a little bit about adding some of the animated elements, the animated logos, and we've talked about B-roll. What's another thing that we can do that's really cool that adds a huge layer of professionalism to our videos? Well, this is a fun one, and it's one that's come up a lot lately, and that's using a green screen. Now, Steve, I don't know about you, but this to me is the biggest advance in all of video marketing, in all of video. Now, yes, the actual nonlinear editing may have had a bigger impact, but to me, the fact that you can do green screen right out of your home studio, that just blows my mind. And what I mean by green screen is this is where the actor stands in front of a giant green wall. In my case, I've got a fold-out, flippy screen that I put up. You stand in front of this green screen, literally, and afterwards you take your software and you tell the software, make the green disappear. The green disappears, and now, you who shot yourself in front of this green screen can be put anywhere. You could put any background. You could, put a background of Washington, D.C., and now you're in Washington, D.C. Put a background of the mountains, you're in the mountains. Background of a city, you're in a city. And it's a very high-end technique, very cool stuff you can do with it, and it's very exciting and a lot of fun. And what amazes me about this is just a couple of years ago, literally a couple of years ago, green screen was so hard to do. And even with professional equipment, it was such a pain in the neck to try and do it and get it to look right and not make it look like, some weird ghost is on the screen, And you used to see this in newscasts because, for those of you who don't know, I don't want to break a big, Santa Claus-like secret here, but those newscasters, they're not standing in front of a giant map.
Yeah.
At least they haven't in 30 years or so. They're standing in front of a green screen and the map is being superimposed. But if you go back and watch news television from 10, 15 years ago, it looks terrible. I mean, you could definitely tell they weren't really in front of that map. But nowadays, it looks like they're literally standing in front of a wall that has a map on it. Mm-hmm. And the reason is because this technology has just come such a long way. And by the technology, I'm talking more about the cameras and the video formats that have just come a long way to the point where the software can more easily do its job. The software hasn't changed much, but the quality of the imagery that they can use in that software has improved to the point where if you've watched any of my videos where I'm sitting on that little news set and talking about doing a review for a product, I'm just doing it in front of a green screen in my office 2 feet from where I'm sitting right now doing this radio show. I do it with my iPhone. So I shoot the video with my iPhone.
Oh, no kidding.
Oh yeah, that's almost everything you see me do these days is done with the iPhone, just because I'm in a small office. I don't have the room to put a big video camera up and everything else. So I just put the iPhone up there, shoot myself in front of the green screen, or whatever it is that I'm doing at the time, and we're done. And so green screening is a great way to do some really cool stuff. And if you look back at a lot of my videos, you'll see I use the green screen all the time now. And it's very easy to do because everything has come so far from where it used to be. The biggest one being the fact that we've gone to HD, which just, HD just adds that ability, that high definition, ability to grab that green more easily and pull that off. And all your major video editors have that built into them these days, or at least most of them do. Sony Vegas does, ScreenFlow, which again is not even technically an editor, has that in there for that purpose. Final Cut Pro, iMovie, Shotcut has that in there now. That was just added recently, thankfully. And so you can actually, for free, download Shotcut at freevideoeditor.co, and you can actually do green screening right from your free editor. On top of that, you got Adobe Premiere, you got After Effects, all of those will work with it. The only one that I know of, I believe Windows Movie Maker does not do green screen. So again, you're out of luck there, but Camtasia does. So if you need a good tool for that, there's plenty of them out there. And there are some standalone tools that you can search out that'll specifically just do green screening for you. But again, if you don't have a green screen tool right now, check out Shotcut, freevideoeditor.co. You can try it out for free. You don't even need a fancy green screen these days. You can actually go to, where do people go? Joann Fabrics, I guess, is a popular one. And you could find a nice green colored, piece of cloth that can do the job for you. So you just want it to be a very bright green. And one thing to note is if you're going to do green screening, don't wear green because you will disappear as well. And that's an old trick that people have done, with videos as well, is wear a green suit except for your head, and then now you've got a floating head. So you can do some cool stuff like that. But if you're going to do green screening, don't wear green. And in fact, the further away from green you can get, the better you're going to do. So, for instance, the exact opposite of it really would be to wear, something red. Because if you're wearing blue shades tend to fall very close to the green. Yellows can start to fall close to the green because obviously blue and yellow make green. But red is the exact opposite. It's the green is the lack of red, is what it really is. And so anytime you can wear red, that's good. If you can wear very high contrasts, so in other words, if the green screen is a nice bright green screen, if you wear a black shirt, you're going to stand out very well. If you wear a bright white shirt, you should stand out fairly well. So those types of things can help out. But the big thing is, experiment with it, have fun with it, because it is a fun technique. You can do a lot of cool things with it. And it adds an element that nobody else can add. And if you're really good at it, if you get the right lighting, you can really fool a lot of people. Now, me personally, I'm not using a ton of lighting, and I'm probably not fooling a whole lot of people with mine. But then again, they're very simple videos. They're not meant to be Hollywood quality videos and blow people away with my green screening abilities. But for the most part, you can't really tell. And, I actually did have somebody ask me, they're like, oh, wait, so you don't actually have that set at your house? I'm like, no, I do not have a gigantic news set at my house.
Ask Ray the Video Guy.
I am getting into the video marketing SEO, and I know you are the genius guru at this, and I would like to know what are the most important tools that I would need to be successful like you. Thanks a lot. Have a blessed day.
Well, that's a great question, Maria. I appreciate that. And basically, what you need to have is two sets of tools. And what I mean by that is, one is the set that we were kind of talking about earlier, which is you need video production tools. So what I mean by that is you need to have a video editor. You need to have, some sort of graphic tools, anything that's going to help you to produce a professional looking video. Because as we know, no matter how well we do with ranking videos, if they don't convert well, it's not gonna matter too much. So we want to make sure that we've got at least a somewhat quality video that we're putting out there that provides value and gets people to take an action. So you're going to want to have a tool. So I don't know if you're Mac or PC, but no matter which one you're on, you could go with the Shotcut video editor, the free one, which is at freevideoeditor.co. But you could also go with something like Adobe Premiere on either the Mac or the PC. And I recommend that a little bit just because if you get the Adobe Cloud Suite, you get Photoshop, you get After Effects, you get all these different tools that you can start to add to that arsenal. And if you use something like Photoshop to create graphics, bring those graphics and use them into Premiere, you've got a great little suite of tools. Again, if you're on a Mac, Final Cut Pro to me is probably the top choice as far as doing really cool video stuff. But also a tool like ScreenFlow or Camtasia, which is also Mac or PC. Sony Vegas on the PC, anything like that that can really help you to make really nice videos and learn the platform. As for the other side with the marketing of the videos, the first thing that I recommend is that you figure out a way to do good keyword research. That to me is vital for pretty much any campaign, because you don't want to spend time and effort making sure that you rank only to find out later that there's nobody searching that word and you're not getting any traffic. So you want to get a tool. There's a lot of tools out there. You can use the Google, the keyword planner tool that's built into Google. It's a little more geared towards people buying advertising, but it can help you to find out where some of the searches are coming from. Another tool that you could get is you could look up Market Samurai, and there's a number of them out there. Longtail Pro is a really popular one that works very well and has some local functions built right into it. Any of those will definitely help you do that. Once you've got your keyword down, to me, the biggest thing you need to have isn't so much a tool, it's your time. You want to make sure that you've got that keyword as well as some other keywords that are related, that you're doing a really nice job of creating titles, tags, and descriptions for that video. That's going to take you through most of this. If you don't have a good title, you're probably not going to rank very well. If you do, that's probably your biggest thing, is the right keyword in the title. Then getting it into the description, making sure it's not a spammy description, but it's a good long description with information, has links to social media, has links to other information, and that's really going to help you to rank that video out there. Once you have that video on there, there's a lot of tools that you can use. The general idea, though, is that you want to get attention to this video. You want to get eyeballs to it. You want to get views. You want it to get posted in different places. You want to get some of those backlinks. To me, one of the best tools for doing that very easily is a tool called OnlyWire. It's very inexpensive, and all you do is, and by the way, I recommend you go to Fiverr and have somebody on Fiverr set it up for you, because you have 50 of the top social bookmarking sites in OnlyWire, but you have to have an account for all 50 of them. Then you have to set that account up for all 50 of them. So I highly recommend go to Fiverr. There are people there that for $5 will just create those accounts for you. Get those set up, and then every time you do a video, all you have to do is go to OnlyWire, do one little post about it, takes 10 seconds, and OnlyWire will send that video out and post it to each of those platforms. And we've seen huge results from simply just doing that. We had a video for a pretty easy keyword. It was for a product that was launching. And we were able to take it from non-existent in Google to page 1 in about a minute. And that was done simply by running it through OnlyWire. So that is a huge piece of the puzzle that you can really jump into right away. Some other things that you can do with that, some other tools. Tony Hayes has some tools that can help you out. He's got his, if you look up commandohq.com, I believe is the website, but the product is called Commando HQ. It integrates some of the stuff we just talked about with bookmarking. It also does a lot of the other things that can really help your video, get backlinks, to get it out to different places. The other tool that you really want to get used to is using YouTube's own promoted videos. If you run ads in YouTube for your video, you're going to get really good views from targeted people, and you're going to get them very quickly. And that's going to help you get immediate results, but it's also going to help you to rank long-term and get even more results. There are other great tools out there. Some of them are a little expensive, but the ones we talked about there are going to get you started. If you want to really get into this, you could check out something like VidPenguin, which is something we've talked about on here before. That's a product that Anthony Aries puts out, and what it does is it takes your YouTube video and builds out a whole bunch of URLs for it and then pings out all those URLs and backlinks them, and it does all this magic, and it works extremely well. But it works on the principle of getting those links out there. You want to share the heck out of that video. Get it onto all your social media. Get your friends to like it and watch it and share it and reshare it. And you start to do those things. As long as you've got a good quality video, a good keyword, you're going to do fine. But the big thing is get some views as soon as possible. And best place, promote them right on YouTube. Pay YouTube to get you some of the views. So that's my recommendations.
All right. Very good. And your dog came home.
The dog came home from the groomers, so now he is barking all over the place on the radio show.
There we go. He says hello. What's his name again?
His name is Reese.
I thought it was really funny when he fell in the hot tub.
Yes. Oh, he did. And that was, he fell into the hot tub, and then the other day he was biting at my heels, and I kicked him away, and he went tumbling right into the pool. So... So that was kind of, and no, I didn't kick him hard. I just kind of kicked my leg free, and we just happened to be walking too close to the edge, and boop, right in.
Yeah, I've got a beagle who's shown up in the background of the live hangout, and she's a little bit annoying like that as well. So we like to mess with her in similar fashion.
Yes. The dogs are always fun.
Yes, exactly. It's the radio show about video and dogs. Video Marketing Madness with Ray the Video Guy, and I'm Steve Sleeper. Today's show made possible by...
Today's show is made possible by freevideoeditor.co. freevideoeditor.co, the easy way to get a free video editing program so you can do things like green screening and editing your videos and adding graphics and adding texts and lower thirds and exporting to multiple formats. In fact, we discovered, which I didn't even know until somebody asked about it the other day, you can even use it to create animated GIFs.
Oh.
Yeah. And so now it becomes probably the world's most powerful animated GIF creator, I would assume so.
Yeah, and I'm familiar with all those GIFs I see in Facebook.
Exactly. It's funny because they used to be so popular years and years ago, and now all of a sudden they're hugely popular again inside of Facebook. Now you can get a free tool that is like I said, we did it the other day. I'm talking, an animated GIF usually is somebody grabbing some little bit of a sports clip or some embarrassing clip and turning it into a little animation, but you can go into Shotcut. You can create a video on a green screen the person, and then turn it into an animated GIF. I did it the other day. It's fantastic.
Cool. Very cool. And if you got a question for Ray, just go to raythevideoguy.com/ask, A-S-K. Leave your question. And it always helps to call him a genius guru.
That does help. That gets you to the front of the list.
Yep. But if Ray answers it like he did Maria's question today, you'll win all kinds of great video marketing stuff. And Facebook page is Video Marketing Madness. Twitter, it's Video MKT Madness. Plenty of useful tips. And there's our show for today.
Yes, indeed. And for those of you who were with us live at one point and wondering what happened, we had some great technical issues, but we made it through and we finished the show.
Yeah, we had the show live for a while, and then I had to download that MP3 and splice it with this. And I don't know, maybe for the average guy, it's not even noticeable. But, this is where my days in live radio helps. I just don't panic about it too much of anything anymore. When I saw my internet go down, I'm like, well, figures.
Well, hey, you know what? We made it through, and we've got what we need.
Yeah,
now, so.
That's right. That's right. And if you're watching it on YouTube, it's there. And if you're listening on Blog Talk Radio, it's there. And if you're listening to it on earn.show, it's there as well. Our new podcasting network, which we've rolled out, and we're going to tweak it some. And so
yes.
There you go. So why don't we wrap her up with the jingle?
Let's do it.
He's Ray the Video Guy, yeah, Ray the Video Guy. His skill is where it's at, even if he's a little fat. He's filled with video expertise and has so much knowledge that you need. His YouTube ninja tricks can make your marketing so sick. He's Ray the Video Guy, yeah, Ray the Video Guy.